Good morning, everyone, and welcome on board the Sunrise Safari here on Djuma and Arathusa private game reserves in the Sabi Sands. It's an absolutely beautiful, beautiful morning, as you got to see. Jeandré is manning the camera this morning, and Jamie has headed out with Andrew on the other vehicle. And interestingly enough, there was a lot of action around the Djuma Waterhole last night, and we got updated by Kevin and Chris Rowe Cropper about a hyena chasing a baby hippo. And I'm not sure how small this baby hippo was, but really incredible stuff. That hyena will actually hunt even prey as big as a baby hippo. And we are told what happened is the Djuma Waterhole Cam picked up some audio of footsteps running and eventually found the baby hippo seeking refuge in the mud where all those catfish are. And then after a short break, it continued running, and the hyena ran off after it. Now, Jamie was going to actually follow up on Karula around Buffelshoek Dam. Now, Karula is a female leopard who we suspect may have cubs. We saw her yesterday evening, and thanks very much to all of you who did provide us with different images confirming that it is in fact her. But she's done a hasty U-turn to head back to the crime scene that we were reported of this baby hippo and hyena. So she'll maybe have some more intelligence on that as she is heading there. And we're going to continue heading to the southern reaches of Djuma to see if there's any sign of possibly the Birmingham coalition of male lions coming back in. Now, I want to show you a quick picture. Some of the cameramen, Jeandré, Andrew and Jess, were up at 3 o'clock this morning, or actually before then, in order to capture the lunar eclipse. And these are some pictures taken by Jeandré. And I'm just going to try and tilt the phone at the right angle there. So it all started with that full moon, and then the eclipse started creeping in, and at the end there was this blood red moon, which looked absolutely awesome, I'm told. And look at those visuals. It's an awesome sequence of photographs thanks to Jeandré. And they did video the whole sequence, but there hasn't been enough time to get anything together yet to show you guys. But in the future, I'm sure Jeandré will cut together a cool clip of that eclipse happening. So that's something to look forward to. And just to let you know that the Safari Live team were in action at the wee hours of the morning. Nikki and I woke up at 3:30, ran out onto the veranda, had a quick look, and then went back to bed. But some others were more committed to the cause. Now, if any of you joining for the first time, welcome. And just to let you know a few quick things, we would love to hear your comments, questions and thoughts. It's very easy to send those through to either myself, Scott, or Jamie. You could hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or send an email through to questions@wildearth.tv. And this is a live safari. You're with us every step of the way. So keep your eyes peeled, scan for any animals, and if you see anything, please let us know. Well, for those of you who were watching yesterday's Sunrise Safari, you would have remembered it was an incredibly misty morning, and Jamie actually started the safari yesterday from the very same spot where we were a little bit earlier, I'm told. Quite remarkable changes of scenery today. You would have also noticed a few wispy cirrus clouds up in the sky. So, a tiny amount of cloud cover, but I don't think it's going to protect us much from the sun as it rises up to the east of us, and it'll probably increase in temperature quite greatly. It was about 10 degrees Celsius when we started out a few minutes ago, and it's probably going to get to the mid-20s by the end of the morning safari. Nikki and Jess are in the final control room, choosing which vehicle to switch to. Poor old Jess had quite a tricky day yesterday. We kept calling for quick links to try and show you guys stuff, and often either the birds that we were wanting to show you had flown away, or once VM and myself had a false alarm. We thought we saw a snake in a tree, but it turned out just to be a bird. So that's what Nikki and Jess are up to. Who provided us with that useful information of the hyena chasing this baby hippo last night. Interested to know a little bit more about what we think was the reason, or what would have happened potentially if the hyena had have caught it. Had the hippo's mother died and that's why it was alone? Hard to tell, Kevin. I'm guessing at night what could have happened is these hyena could have ambushed the hippo to a degree and separated the mother and its calf. So that's what I'm thinking would have happened, and in the chaos and confusion the calf just ran off, hoping to get away from the hyena and that way lost its mother. So I don't think we can assume for certain that it is in fact dead, the mother. And then Kevin also asks another good question, and he would like to know whether we think it's possible for hyena to have killed that hippo. And most certainly they've got incredibly powerful jaws, more powerful than lion and leopard, capable of crunching through large bones. But sadly for that hippo, if they did manage to subdue it, hyena are not known for making clean kills. They will very seldom suffocate their prey, and usually once they have subdued it, they start eating it alive and just rip it apart, really. So a hyena is not an animal that you would want to be killed by. I'd much rather have a lion or a leopard kill me, because at least they would suffocate you and put you out of your misery sooner rather than later. But the hyenas have got a more grisly way of going about killing their prey. As I mentioned, Jamie did do a U-turn and start heading straight towards that crime scene at the Djuma Waterhole. So we're going to send you across to her. She is in that area, and maybe she'll be able to give you a little bit more insight into what went on and what she thinks the outcome could have been. Enjoy, and we'll see you later.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sunrise Safari. For those of you who don't know, my name is Jamie, and I have Andrew, the aardvark, on camera with me this morning. Now, we received that update about a hyena chasing a baby hippo around Djuma Dam from avid followers of that dam camera. So I've returned to the dam to see if I can find any evidence of what was happening last night on that incredible full moon evening. So far, there's no sign of anything. I've done a full loop of the dam. I checked the eastern side. I'm now checking the northwestern corner. And these drainage lines are such good hiding places for things like marauding hyenas. Now, I'm not too sure what was going on last night. Was the mom involved in any way? Was she there to defend it? Because I certainly wouldn't want to... Oh, there was no mother apparently. Because I certainly would not want to take on a baby hippo with mom in full defense. Generally the cows with small calves are very, very defensive of their babies. So I wonder if there's any evidence of what was happening. Why was the baby on its own? Where was mom? Don't know. I mean, it's very, very unusual for a baby to be in that situation on its own, especially smaller ones. A couple of months old, they'll stay with their mother for a year or older until they're big enough to look after themselves. So it could be with lots of hyenas, their tactic might have been to separate them and split them off. We just don't know what happened last night. I'm actually heading across to where there's this little waterhole outside Gowrie Camp that's also pumped. Andrew's mentioned that he saw a hyena there yesterday, lounging in the water quite late into the morning. So I thought maybe there's a possibility they might have headed that way. But very interesting things happening over the evening time. There's hyena tracks everywhere, up and down the roads. It's very difficult to track hyena. Let's see if we can get an update from that side. And if we don't find anything here, then I'm definitely heading across to Buffelshoek Dam to try and follow up with that mysterious sighting of Karula. And it's interesting because Andrew and I saw her almost exactly where she was first seen with those tracks about a week ago. So the fact she's moving around in the same area is leading us to start thinking a little bit broader than it being just Karula in those drainage lines. Oh, excuse me. Thank you, Andrew. Now, we've got a lot of updates because originally when Scott saw this female, he wasn't quite sure who it was. So a big thank you to Beryl and Raisa and Georgianne and many others who sent through ID pictures and pictures of spot patterns. It's almost 100% confirmed that it was Karula. And we're suspecting, it's not certain, but both Aubrey and Taxon suggested that the way she was pacing up and down, they said that they could see suckle marks around her nipples. Her nipples looked swollen. This is the story that I heard. And of course she is known for hiding her cubs very well in drainage lines. I think it's time to start being a little bit excited this spring morning that we might have little Karula cubs coming through. It is about time. It's entirely possible. Now I know that we reported that she was mating with that unknown male up in Buffelshoek, but that was 2 months ago. But it could be she was already pregnant and just making sure to mate with him, so he's tricked into thinking that the cubs are his. So regular viewers, we know we've discussed this several times, that the females will mate with as many males as possible so that they don't run the risk of infanticide from marauding boys. It's also a very dramatic morning from our side as we were driving along towards Gowrie Cutline from the dam. Just before we went live, an enormous bird of prey, I don't know what it was very hard to tell, straight into the sun, but it had obviously grabbed a starling chick and was being closely followed by this really brave defensive starling and was trying to mob it and pecking it. It's incredible to see this tiny little bird matched up against a big bird of prey. I tried to follow up with it, but that bird was just flying as fast as it could to get away from the starling. Coming up to the waterhole now. As to which hyenas it was. There were 3 of them on quarantine when we came home last night. It all seems very quiet here. I think it's safe to say that whatever happened with those hyenas, it's going to be very difficult to find them. But I don't see any dead baby hippos. And I don't see any birds of prey sitting in trees waiting for a chance to feast on it. It's a possibility that they got it, but we just don't know. It might be one of those mysteries that we just don't get to solve straight away. Now, whilst I continue on my crime scene investigation, I believe that Scott has some rather sleepy-looking waterbuck in the first rays of the morning sun, so let's head across there, and I will catch up with you a little bit later.
Well, this big male waterbuck's having a very lazy Monday morning. And wouldn't it be wonderful if we could swivel our ears around to listen in different directions? He's clearly listening to us now, but every now and then he'll swivel those ears into a different direction and increase the audio input from the surrounding areas. I guess they have a far greater need for this ability than we do, as we don't have nearly as many predators stalking us as they do, although in this day and age that might be debatable. They've got lots of ridges on their horns, which you can clearly see, and also you can just see the top half of the white circle on its rump, which is probably the most defining characteristic of the waterbuck. There's no other antelope with that big white target on their rump. Their name can be a little bit misleading, and there's different theories as to why they were called waterbuck. Sometimes they flee into water when being chased by predators, but they are not the only antelope who are prone to do this. And they aren't certainly not heavily water dependent, so don't be fooled by the name waterbuck. And currently the closest water to us is probably the little pond that's being pumped with water at the Djuma Waterhole. So that emphasizes the fact that they're not entirely reliant on water and don't need to be around it all the time. Sounds like the two lioness that we saw yesterday afternoon have headed east out of Djuma. Aubrey's busy following their tracks. They're basically headed straight east away from the Buffelshoek Waterhole, which is great news. We wouldn't want them snooping around there too much, especially after the speculation that Karula may well have cubs. And if she has given birth, the first 2 weeks of those cubs' life, they're blind and helpless little furballs. But anywhere after the 2-week period, there's a chance that we may start seeing them. She may move them around. And in the year almost that we've been filming here now, we have had basically no good tiny leopard cub sightings. The only one which we did have was very brief, and that was with the same female leopard Karula. She had probably, well, she did only have one remaining cub from a litter of possibly 2 or 3. And within minutes of seeing it, that little cub for the first time, a hyena swooped into the area and killed the cub. So the joy and elations of seeing that cub for the first time was harshly disrupted by the hyena who came in and killed it. Interestingly though, there's more to that story than just that. That evening, Karula killed an adult female impala, and the following morning, after finding her actually in the area where she lost her cub, she was still looking for it, calling out, making sure there was no chance it was still alive. She led us back to an impala kill, and what we realized is that the impala she killed was a mother of a newborn lamb, and that lamb was waiting patiently for its mother, and that afternoon Karula killed the lamb as well. So it kind of helped us to get to grips with the fact that death is a reality out here, and as sad as it is seeing a leopard cub being killed, within 24 hours she had already killed 2 other animals, a mother and its newborn lamb. Anyway, let's hope that doesn't happen this time around. It'll be wonderful to watch some tiny cubs grow up over the coming months. Okay, well, we're going to leave the sleepy waterbuck and continue on. I'm hoping we're going to be able to find another leopard and a much older cub. Now, Shadow and Sindile, we haven't seen them for probably close on a week now, and we're going to work these areas, the western portions of Djuma, to see if there's any sign of her. It's an area where she likes to hang out. I'll be checking very carefully for any tracks of her on the road here. I didn't mention about the waterbuck is that they are quite smelly antelope. They've got a very distinctive odor about them. Sharon's just mentioned that she's heard that they smell like turpentine. And I guess there's a hint of turpentine in that funny odor. But I wouldn't say it's the perfect smell to relate to the smell of a waterbuck. But certainly a hint of turpentine in there does make sense. It smells more like, to me, like kind of a wet dog blanket almost, like a moldy blanket is the smell that comes into my head. And that leads to another topic of discussion, and that is some people are told that lion and other predators do not like the taste of waterbuck. Now, whoever came up with that theory and managed to spread it so convincingly deserves an award, because it's certainly not the case. I've seen numerous predators, lion, leopard, hyena and wild dog, as well as cheetah actually, feeding on waterbuck, and they certainly did appear to be enjoying their meal. And if we just think back a few days to those two in Gowrie lioness feeding on that maggot-infested buffalo, which smelled like nothing you could ever imagine, that will help you to realize that the predators are not too fussy and meat is meat. Okay, we've got some buffalo bulls who, like the waterbuck, are also having a lazy Monday morning. Just trying to think of the best spot to stop. All lying up in quite thick bushes. Might have a gap there, at least one that's standing up. Not the best views though. Look at all the spider webs as Jeandré zooms in. Glistening in the morning sunlight. Isn't that incredible? And what those could be are the parachute blinds. That very small spiders, when they hatch, will send out these spider webs that act like parachutes, and they get carried off in the wind so that they all can spread out. Oh, there's some oxpeckers. So that's the way spiders will take their first voyage into a new area after hatching and then start their life. The black-headed Orioles, very fluid call in the distance. Bright yellow bird with a black head. Some of our European viewers may know of the Orioles. There is a Eurasian Oriole that actually migrates back to us, but they're very rare here. Now, I don't have a good view, but this buffalo is not snoozing, not having the laziest of Monday mornings, and he is busy at work chewing the cud, making sure that The very efficient digestive system and plan is in progress, and he'll be regurgitating food that he's already gobbled up to further masticate and break down for easier and more effective digestion. Not the best view though, all you can see is his jaw churning from side to side. We are going to continue for more lively animals though, and send you back to Detective Patterson, who is closely inspecting the Djuma Waterhole for any signs of footprints to help piece together the puzzle that was the hyena chasing the hippo last night. Enjoy, and we will see you shortly.
Welcome back, and Andrew and myself have returned to the scene of the crime, so to speak, looking for any sign of the tracks that might have show up. It's very, very difficult in this kind of soil, because as you can see, this is the mud wallow that we are faced with, and the ground is very, very hard here. And it's difficult to get an impression, especially since elephants have stomped all over the place at some point. Now I'm looking closely to see if we can find the tracks of this poor little baby who was being harassed by the hyena. And apparently it even looked as though the hyena got a bite at its bottom as it was running away to the left of the camera into the drainage line, which is off to our west. Oh, look at those catfish. I haven't seen them from this perspective before. That is phenomenal. Some of those are absolutely massive. Wow. Now, I think they're quite happy for now. They're still... The waterhole is drying out, but remember that we have spoken about their ability to dig down when they start to lose all water and form a nice mucus sheath around them and wait out the dry season. They can also cover ground across dry land if they need to. So for now, I think they're fine. Why it is that they choose to pack together like that, I'm not too sure. Maybe it's a defense mechanism. When you do have so little water to move around in, it's safer to stay in a tight group like that. And certainly if I were a fishing predator, I think I would think twice. There's a fin flapping. I might think twice about how I would go about tackling that enormous group. It is interesting to see, and we do need some more rain, because not all of them are going to be able to wait out the dry season underground. I think it's going to be very difficult for some of the bigger ones. Oh, it's incredible to see. Who knew there were so many catfish in Djuma Dam, apart from the storks? And the drone team who went to collect the fallen drone in the mud. They're probably well aware of how many catfish there were in the dam. But you can see why these are the ones who have been the survivors in this ever-shrinking mud wallow. They are simply too big. We saw that stork the other day struggling to swallow a fish that was probably half the size of these. And I certainly can't imagine a fish eagle floating off with one of them either. They're absolutely enormous. And it will be the little ones that will be targeted around the corners and the edges. But I don't think there are that many left, to be honest. I think that most of the surviving ones, since the birds have had such an easy time of it in terms of catching catfish, I think that they've only really been left with these enormous specimens in the dam. There's probably still one or two little ones who haven't managed to force their way into this big group. But wow, that's incredible. Oh, look at that tail. They look really big and powerful, some of these fish. Now, some of them are very, very wriggly, and others are still. And Tamira, you were wondering if they're all alive or if some of them are dead. And I think that most of them are alive. Some of them might just be resting and preserving energy. Because if they were not alive, they would already be being consumed by the other catfish. Doesn't look like that's what's happening. But catfish will eat each other. But it's hard to tell. Some of them do look very, very still. I'm just listening to the Game Drive channel, sorry. There's a big discussion going on about inkahumas versus sticks on the radio. It's quite entertaining to listen to. It's Ephraim and sounds like Aubrey and Taxon talking about the lionesses that we've been seeing and what's happened to the others. They don't seem to have any conclusions though for us. And this definitely looks like easy pickings for a fish eagle or a stork. And Susie Johnson, you would think that they would come and just grab them and fly over and catch a fish. But I honestly think that a lot of these fish are just too big for them. They're heavy. Some of these are probably, I don't know, a good couple of kilograms easily. And it's difficult, and a fish eagle could actually risk injury by trying to grab and fly away with a fish that's too big and slippery and fighting. If they're flying, it could overbalance them. So I think that they're avoiding that for now. That's why I think that these are the surviving ones left in this dam. I think that they are simply too big for the various fish eagles and storks to catch. I honestly do. I mean, a fish eagle could catch one. If it could carry it away, then it could break chunks off it with its beak. But I think these ones are just a little bit too heavy to carry. I think we're going to leave our writhing mass of catfish and carry on with our crime scene investigation. I don't see any tracks here, but that's just because there's so many things that have walked and visited the Djuma Waterhole, and it's hard mud. So I think footprints don't necessarily leave an impression. We now head off to the left. We shall see if we can find any more evidence. Now, I have been looking out for drag marks, which is going to be the biggest indicator that the hyenas, hit a log, found a log, that the hyenas were successful with their attempts last night. So far I haven't seen anything. And a drag mark the size of a baby hippo would definitely be obvious. Now, Botti, you wanted to know what the time is. It is 6:34 here in South Africa in the Sabi Sands, and already heating up nicely. It's going to be blazing hot. Brent told me that his weather check told him it was going to be a maximum degree of 37 this afternoon at some point during the middle of the day. And that sounds very warm to me. Luckily for the moment we've got a nice cooling breeze. It's not the easiest path we have chosen for our investigation. A little bit bumpy. Let me see if I can find a smoother way to do this. temperatures and the summer rains that we've had a little bit of, or a little sneak preview of, it's bringing forth all kinds of things, including the various insects like dung beetles, which are definitely one of my favorites. And apparently Scott has some to show you. So let's head across there and I will continue my investigation of the drainage line.
Yay! It's our first dung beetles of the season, or at least with a big bolus of dung. Can you believe how big that ball is? It's probably the size of a tennis ball, to give you an idea of how big exactly it is. And look at how strong that male is. Can you believe that power? Got his work cut out for him though, because not only does he have to worry about the bonus of dung that he's trying to get up this ridge, but there's also the female clinging on tightly. That makes for tricky rolling. Oh, she's getting crushed at the moment, but she's latched onto her position and is waiting for him to now transport her to an area that they both feel would be a good place to try and excavate and bury this bolus of dung. They often do that. Sometimes they'll leave the bolus of dung above the surface of the ground, but most often they... Oh, not quite now. Watch closely as he break dances here for a moment. Take note, break dancers. This is how you do it. Shame, he will be able to pop up eventually. But I'm guessing what he is going to do is climb up onto the bolus of dung once he does get onto his stomach again. There we go. And do a 360 in order to get his bearings again. Let's watch whether he does that or not. No, he's confident he knows which direction he needs to go in. But what they will often do once they lose their bearings is do a quick 360 on top of their dung ball and then work out which way is which and continue. This is buffalo dung that they've used to roll up into this tight ball. And the reason why they do this is that they're going to lay an egg within there, and when that egg hatches, it's going to have a whole pantry of buffalo dung to feed on. And it will slowly molt and metamorphosize from a larval grub into the fine adult specimen that we can see here. More breakdancing. I mean, the power and energy of these animals, that is absolutely relentless. They just don't stop moving. Come on, buddy. You can do it. And if there's one animal out in Africa that we can all take and never give up lesson from, I think it's these guys over here. Look at those legs flaying desperately. Now, one thing you also see from time to time is males actually fighting with one another. That's also an awesome show of their strength and determination. Sometimes males will come in and hijack a bolus of dung that another male would have created and roll away both the bolus of dung and the female latched onto it. Oh, there we go. You'll notice the female hasn't changed positions and she's waiting for her job. Oh, the soft sand isn't making life easy for him. Come Come on, buddy, let's see if you can get it up this bank this time around. Oh. Okay, we've got to rush you across to Jamie, but we're not going anywhere.
Welcome back. We just had to get you across very quickly for this adorable little scene. I don't want to speak too loudly and disturb them. But look how sweet this little baby nyala is. Too cute. And we've come all the way along the drainage line. I was just on my way out and we bumped into this scene, and luckily, because we're right near the camp, this female's a lot more relaxed with our presence, and so is her baby. Yeah, a little butting of the head there to stimulate mom's milk production. So cute. Look at his tail wagging happily. Look at it go. Oh, nope, no more, Bubba. Mom's done. Nope, sneaking back in there. It's not quite finished. No, Mom, wait, Mom, I'm going to keep going. Oh, headbutt. Tail wagging so happily. That is one happy little nyala baby. Oh! That was quite the headbutt. Oh, shame. Gently, baby. Gently. I don't think Mom's terribly impressed with that. The little Bubba's got to the size now where those kind of headbutts probably hurt a little bit. It's the same thing that you've seen your cats and your dogs do when they knead with their paws. It's a milk stimulating thing. Okay, done now. Thanks, Mom. No, I'm not. I'm back again. Very cute. Okay. Well, whilst we leave this little one to his or her breakfast, it's impossible to tell at this point. I believe that Scott's dung beetle is now winning in his struggle with the dung ball. So let's head across to him, and I will catch up with you a little bit later.
Welcome back, everyone. And that's the buffalo dung that has been rolled up into a tight ball. You can see, though, that the dung beetle has been successful and managed to get up off this ridge. And there's still a bit of an incline. Let's hope. Oh, that was close. Let's hope he doesn't roll back down into the road. Okay, he's getting his bearings again. There's a little, that was more of a 180, but I think he has succeeded. His hard work this morning has paid off, and I think he's just about where he needs to get to without worrying about rolling back into the road, but he's not quite there yet. I mean, the strength of this animal is just remarkable. I'm guessing that ball of dung probably weighs at least 10 times more than he does. And this is one of many different types of dung beetles that we will get in the coming months. You get some smaller ones, some that iridesce a beautiful emerald green kind of color in the sunshine, but this is the most common. But there are many different types, and what we can look forward to seeing when there are more around is them flying in to fresh piles of dung. And they're not the most graceful flyers, and what they'll do is when they get into the general area of the dung, they just stall their engines and tumble out of the sky, crash down onto the ground, and then run off into the pile of dung where they compete with one another. Thankfully it looks like these two are the only ones around for this buffalo's dung. So not too much competition just yet. And happy to hear that B. Allen is surprised to see how the female hangs on to the bolus of dung. He didn't realize that's what happened. And there's so many interesting things that happen out here, B. Allen, that we will hopefully be able to show you in the coming months, especially with the less well-known stars of the African bushveld, like the dung beetle. Well, we've got some wonderful comments through from X-Ranga and John, and they're imagining the female shouting orders to the male. What's going on? What's taking so long? Let's go, let's go, let's go. And who knows? Maybe they are communicating, or she's communicating to him as he pants and tries to get his breath back as he undergoes this arduous task. Well, Lynn has just remarked, why don't I help him? Well, Lynn, I don't know if I'd be of any service to him. I don't know what his plans are, so best I leave him to his business, and I don't want to start getting shouted at by that female as well. Andrew May's made a good point. Why doesn't the female help him? Well, not too sure. Maybe she's saving energy to lay the egg, or she... Well, I think he succeeded on his mission for now. So we're probably going to think of moving off fairly soon. We'll be able to see a lot more of this in the coming months. Now Lenny asks a good question. She would like to know how long these beetles live for, and I stand to be corrected here, but I'm fairly certain it'll just be one summer season. So they'll only, like most insects, survive one season and then die out, and the hatchlings created during the summer season will be the ones that we get to see next summer. I do stand to be corrected, and I could be wrong. So if anybody does know the finer details of the lifespan of these dung beetles, feel free to share. And Lenny's watching all the way in Arizona. I'm not sure if you get dung beetles over there, Lenny. I don't think so, though. But there certainly are some wonderful creatures that live in the Americas and all around the world, and it's important for all of us to remember that. It's not just Africa where you get to see interesting phenomenons in wildlife, and often you don't even have to look further than your backyard to find some interesting creatures going about their lives. Okay, well, I think that's enough dung beetle action for this morning. Well done to him for his strong performance, both on pushing the bolus of dung and the moments of breakdancing in between. And Nancy in Oregon, listen, didn't hear me say, I think that ball of dung was probably the size of a tennis ball, maybe ever so slightly bigger. Jeandré, what do you think? Tennis ball maybe slightly bit bigger? So that's something that everyone can relate to, and from that you can deduce how big the dung beetle itself was. And I mean, that dung would have been packed really tight. It was moist dung, and I'm thinking at least 10 times the weight of the dung beetle that was pushing it around, possibly even as much as 20 times its weight, which gives you a good idea of how strong they actually are. So we're just approaching the treehouse waterhole. I want to pop in there quickly to see if there's anything happening, and thereafter I'll probably head west onto Arathusa. Sounds like Taxon and Ephraim are possibly on the trail of Karula. Kind of in a similar area to where she was moving yesterday, but it sounds like her tracks are heading east towards Torchwood. But what we would find is that if she does in fact have cubs nestled away in the drainage line or riverbed below the Buffelshoek Waterhole, is that she will move around and hunt in that general area and not go too far away from her cubs that will need a lot of attention and suckling in their first few weeks of life. Imagine what a task she has ahead of her. I mean, raising cubs all on her own, still having to feed herself. It's a very tricky business, and when she does have to obviously feed herself, which is paramount, as if she loses condition, naturally the cubs are also going to lose condition, have nothing to feed on. So she has to weigh up the balance between finding food for herself and feeding her cubs. And when she does, like I say, have to go and find food for her cubs, she'll be leaving the cubs unattended, all on their own. And at those moments, anything could come along and gobble them up. Even a python could be a predator that kills them. It's actually fairly common for pythons to kill.
Everybody, and we apologize for the abrupt departure from Scott and whatever he was up to. Now you might be wondering why I'm parked tilted on a bank like this, and the reason is I think I found our little baby hippo tracks. Let's see if maybe we can get a view. Do you think we can get a view from there, Andrew?
We can try.
We can try it. The light's very, very difficult. It's dappled light, but there's our little baby hippo, just to give you an idea of size. And this was, I think, before the hyenas made their way in. Which track are we on? This one here?
Yes.
Cool. So here's our little baby. Still not the tiniest baby I've ever seen. It's probably a couple of months old. And here's number 1 toe, 2 toe, 3 toe, 4 toe. Going this way. This is towards the dam. We're on Central, so we're on the eastern side of the dam, and he headed along here. There's hyena tracks crisscrossing over his tracks. I don't know, he doesn't look like he's running down the road here. It's so they might have only just met up with him at the dam. I didn't find any sign of him to the western side. I don't know where the little one disappeared to. But what's interesting about this is that I don't see any tracks of Mommy, which is very interesting. This road has been driven over, so it might be that her tracks are somewhere along here and just got driven over by the other vehicles heading in this direction. But so far I haven't seen any adult tracks accompanying this baby, which makes it an easy target, if it was alone, an easy target for hyenas. And I think the best way to maybe solve this mystery is to head across to the hyena den. But first, I just had to come this way. The only reason I've actually come in this direction is because the guys have reported seeing lion tracks along this road. Now, it looks as though they might have crossed cheetah cut line, but it sounds like it was males chasing females. That's what the other guides are saying. So Taxon and Ephraim are busy following up there, and I think they've just crossed into Torchwood as I was looking at these hippo tracks. But let's go see what we can find out there about what happened. Now, of course, with lion tracks, with just tracks, you don't know the full story. From what I can tell, it seems as though it was two males chasing females. But beyond that, we don't know anything more about what happened here last night. But it's still very, very interesting. So I'm going to head across towards Cheetah Cut Line just to have a look. If it looks as though they have crossed, then I'll wait for reports from the other guides when they do find them on Torchwood, and we can head across to the hyena den and follow up with this hippo story. Now, there's a very strong possibility, just looking at these little hippo tracks, that this baby is quite capable of escaping some hyenas. So these aren't tiny baby hippo tracks. It's a couple of months old and probably more than capable of trying to defend itself and get away. But the only way that we're going to know that what happened last night is to try and see if we can find either evidence of that little hippo making his way back towards Sydney's dam, because that's the most likely place that he came from, or to head towards, oh, spiderweb in my eye, sorry, or to head towards the hyena den and see if there's any evidence of him there. But very difficult to tell what happened last night. So many things, so many options to try and follow up with. Interestingly, this little baby has come all the way from, I'm still watching his backtracking where he came from, he or she, has come all the way from the eastern side. The dams on Torchwood all that well, and which ones have hippos and which ones don't. I only know of Sydney's dam that's in this vicinity that has more than one hippo. Apart from Bob and Buffelshoek Dam, the rest of the dams are too empty to have a pod of hippos, especially with young babies. It might be that he came from Torchwood somewhere. There might be a big dam there, I'm not too sure. And there's hyena tracks as well. It looks as though these hyenas followed him all the way down this road last night. I wonder why this poor little hippo is on his own like this. I still haven't seen any evidence of adult tracks following behind. And that does suggest to me there is a possibility that something happened to this little calf's mother. Hyena tracks crisscrossing all the time up and down the road. only way that we're going to find an answer to this mystery is if we find a little hippo maybe at the hyena den. I still think it's unlikely. I think our little hippo may have made it out okay. But I haven't seen any evidence of a kill. The problem is that 3 hyenas and a little hippo, most of it could be gone by now. But if there is any left, there's a good chance they might have taken it across to the den site. Lots of speculation at the moment. The guys picked up on the lion track somewhere around here. This road has been driven over. But apparently they were moving straight east. Obviously, I haven't seen any of the footage. I wasn't up last night to watch the Djuma Dam camera. But JJ and many others have told me that the hippo is barely bigger than the various hyena that were attacking him. So I'm not quite sure what transpired. Now you tell me that it's headed towards the lodge. I did check that entire drainage line along there to try and find any evidence of what happened last night. I couldn't find anything. It's very thick and sandy. And I checked around there, and then I got the reports of these lion tracks, so I changed direction and started heading this way. But if it does look like the lions have crossed outside of our traverse area, so where we can drive, then I will go back and head towards the western sector and see if we can find any evidence as to what happened. Shame, and it definitely seems as though these hyena were following this hippo, this little baby hippo, all the way down this road. And I'm not sure what transpired last night, but they were tracking him. Why it was on its own, I do not know. I would say it's possible that they started hunting towards the east and they split up the mom and her calf. Or something's happened to that mother in the past, and it's something that starts to happen around this time of year, although it's unusual for cows to fall victim to it. It's usually the younger bulls. In these hot days without any rain, when the dams start to disappear, hippo really get a bit pushed for space, and there tends to be a lot more aggression between the various members of the pods and the rafts, especially between the dominant bulls and the younger males. And very often very old bulls or very young bulls get pushed out and sent to find their own place when there's crowded for space. It could be that the female got caught in the middle of something like that, or even that the calf got caught in the middle and ran away, and that's why it was off on its own. It's all speculation though, it's so hard to tell. The same applies for whatever happened with these lions here last night. Short of them finding them on Torchwood, we're not going to know which individuals it was. I would suspect that the female tracks belong to those 2 young females that we saw yesterday morning on the sunrise safari, lying on the termite mound. But who the 2 males are, it could be the Salati males. It's possible that the Birmingham boys came all the way up from Hofmann's, which is far south. It's a couple of kilometers away, but that's nothing in lion terms. They can cover ground enormous distances when they want to. It's just a matter of trying to get and figure out if they have crossed. I'm heading right to our eastern boundary to go and look for those lion tracks, just to see if we can follow up with them. them. I was hoping they might stick around. Let me switch off and just give them a moment to settle. Hopefully they come towards us. There's a couple of white-crested helmet shrikes for new viewers to add to their collection. Oh, nope. They've disappeared off. Birds making it a little bit difficult. Jumping away. And there's something about helmet shrikes that they're very, very difficult to capture on film. Have you got one there?
Mm-hmm.
Well done. Well done, Andrew. Brilliant work. That little black and white bird fluttering around, that is a white-crested helmet shrike. It's the straggler of the group. You always see them in groups. And let me find a picture of him in my book so that you can have a closer look at what you're looking at. Very nice. Oh. There's something cool in the air. There's a funny wind that's coming through. And I'm not sure what it is heralding, but there's definitely a strange wind. I wonder if there's a cold front coming, or maybe even a storm tonight. That would be wonderful with some rain. This is the little bird that we were looking at. Really, really pretty creature, and so rapid and difficult to film. Andrew did a fantastic job there of capturing them. You can hear them calling. I'm going to be quiet for a moment. No, they've stopped. They make a very electronic sound. But that's the bird we were looking at with that bright yellow eye. We also get the Retz's helmet shrike as well, but we see them far less commonly. You usually see them around drainage lines in big jackalberries. Quite hard to film as well, but we'll be keeping an eye out for them. And well done, Andrew. For those of you who are new to the live safaris, if you want to keep your bird list going. I'm not sure if Mavis is watching, but you were collecting a whole load of different species that we see. And I know the inchworm added the 100th one to Mavis's list that she's making in Australia. Well, there you go. There's a white-crested helmet shrike to add to your list. And a big thank you to Andrew for spotting one that I didn't even see. Excellent work. Andrew lost some sunglasses. Oh, I don't want to drive over them. They're right in the middle of the road. Am I going to hit them?
No, we're good. I'm not sure.
We're good?
Yeah.
Okay, whilst Andrew collects his belongings that he's just casually throwing off the back of the vehicle. We can't leave them there. They'd definitely fall victim to an incoming tyre. There we go. Well done, Andrew.
Thank you.
Very smoothly done. Sight of where these little hippo tracks came from. They haven't come from this boundary as far as I can tell. That being said, there's been a lot of traffic up and down trying to follow up on the lion tracks that they found here. I'm not too sure where this little one came from, but we're going to try and work out a little bit about how old it might have been. And Carol, you were wondering how long a hippo nurses for. We can try and figure this out. Interesting. Apologies, give me one moment. I'm going to shift around slightly. You got that track there, perfect, thank you. Now, I don't claim to be a tracking expert, but I can usually tell which way tracks are going. And these are not going east. East is that way. East is exactly backwards to where that track is pointing. This track is going west from Torchwood into Djuma. And now we have a curious situation on our hands. This is very interesting. I thought that they'd been, when I heard the reports of the tracks, I thought they'd been chased east. These tracks don't go east. They definitely come west. There's big male tracks and there's female tracks as well. Here we go, that looks like the female track. Oh, no, that could be the big male track. I'm looking at the wrong one.
I think that is the female.
Which one are you looking at?
I think.
Oh, yes, that one there. That is the female, yeah. Right. Okay, well, that changes plans. I know I was in the middle of your question, Carol, about hippos and their suckling habits, but just bear with me a moment. I'm going to try and loop around. I'm going to go north because it sounds as though I heard the guys saying that the tracks had turned north. Although now I'm a little bit confused because east and west definitely got mixed up somewhere there. Okay, let's do a loop because there were not that many tracks on the road whilst I was driving up and chatting to you all. To follow the tracks, but I'm going to do a loop first to just try and clarify where the last ones were seen. I'm actually going to hop onto the radio and just ask for a bit of clarification here. Oh, somebody else is talking. It sounds as though everybody's having trouble with their radios. That might be what's happening. Everybody's struggling to hear each other. There's definitely something in the wind. It's picked up incredibly since we first set out. It's now blowing almost a gale on Cheetah Cut Line. Here we go. Stop. Oh, nope, they're still talking. They're still talking. Still chatting away. They've obviously got their radios working again. They're talking about... Well, they're each trying to get hold of each other to try and clarify whether or not their radios are working. I can hear them all clearly, but I think that they're struggling to copy each other. Now, I know that Ephraim and Texan were working around this area to follow up with these blind tracks. I can't hear, though, if they've had any luck. Leave them to finish their conversation for the moment, and while I did that, I was busy answering Carol's question on hippos. Now what I'd love to do is be able to find a picture in a book of size differences, but I'll do that a little bit later. I'll go through my book. I'm not sure if I've got one with me, and we can try and work out how old that little baby was. Now, Carol, you asked when they're weaned, and they're weaned at about, I think it's about a year old that they stop drinking their mother's milk. They will supplement their diet from about 6 months old with grass. So they're not entirely dependent on their mother's milk whilst they're in the later months of their juvenile period. They will supplement feed. They don't necessarily... they'll still be drinking their milk up until a year old or so. So this baby, by the sounds of it, would still be reliant on mom, but could survive without her if something has happened to her. We just don't quite know the full circumstances of the story just yet. Stations. I've seen where those in Bala and Konzo cross west into Djuma from onto Central. What was the position of the last tracks? Okay, well, I don't think they're hearing me because I haven't heard any response. Possible they're busy tracking. I'm going to keep double checking around here. I heard somebody say something about Gowrie Dam. Let's double check here. Ah, this is where they crossed east. Okay. Now I understand. Ah, here we go. Ephraim's trying to get hold of me. Sorry guys, I'll be with you in a moment. Stand by. Yeah, that's affirmative. They were going west, but now I've also got the Nkonzo at Gowrie Dam now going east. Copy that. Thank you, Ephraim. Copy, thank you very much. I'll make my way there later. Okay, we've got an answer to our question. Let me stop so I can explain this to you. Whoa. Not on this road though. My library is attempting to make its way down into the center console. It's not my library actually, it's Brent's. It's a combination of the two of ours. Okay. Right, so here's what happened last night to the best of our understanding at the moment. This is the update I've just got from Ephraim. First of all, I'm going to use my leg to push that back up. There we go. So the lions crossed west. The two females were being chased by two males. We don't know which ones they were yet. They haven't found the lions at the moment. They crossed west where we saw them, across Cheetah Cut Line and into our area. They ran north up Drakensberg. This is an update from Ephraim. And then the females turned around and shot back into Torchwood across Cheetah Cut Line again. So that's where the update came from. Guys have tracked them all the way. They did a big loop. Obviously the females being very stressed out by whatever was happening with those males, as far as we can tell. And I think the reason that they're saying they were being chased rather than just walking normally, as they might have been, is obviously they've picked up in the tracks that there's a running motion. Whether or not that is the case, we're just purely reading the story from tracks, so we don't really know. But it seems as though either way, they have crossed our boundary into the east, into Torchwood. So at least we have an answer on that. And we can just have to wait now to see if the other guides are going to follow up with those lions and tell us who they are. Very interesting to hear. Now it seems as though Scott has got some leopard tracks to show you before he hops out and goes to follow them on foot. I'm going to continue scouring this area before heading across and trying to find out what happened to our baby hippo since our lions have disappeared. So let's head across to Scott for now, and I'll be back with you very, very soon.
Welcome back, everyone. And we've got some steaming hot female leopard tracks here. They are heading north over our southern boundary into Djuma, so that's the good news. And as Jeandré pans out, you'll see the tracks crossing the road. And I've looped around this entire block very slowly to try and make sure that she's still inside here, and I'm fairly convinced that she is. So now the next course of action is to take a walk and go off on foot on the trail of these tracks. I doubt I'll be able to follow every footprint track for track, but what I'm going to do is head off in this general direction, checking probable areas where she may be hiding out, possibly lying up on a termite mound. She may have a kill hoisted in a tree, and I'm guessing it's Shadow. This is the area that Shadow moves in. It could be Quatila or another female leopard, but I'm hoping that it's Shadow, and maybe she's been successful and made a kill in this area, or maybe she's just taking a break and having a snooze. Either way, I will keep you updated as soon as I'm back on the vehicle, but I need to head off now and see what we can find in this block. So back to Jamie, and I shouldn't be too long. I'll just spend about 5 or 10 minutes on these tracks and then make the next move. Wish me luck, and we'll see you later.
Welcome back, and really exciting news that Scott has just told you. He's got those fresh leopard tracks going up into Djuma, or north into Djuma. I wonder who that could be. Now, I'm also in the area where we think Karula might be hiding herself away, but with all of this lion activity, you have to wonder if she's going to remain even more cryptic than usual. I'm checking very carefully along Gowrie Pan Road just as I make my way through this area, since I am here following up on those lion tracks. So far, no sign of fresh leopard tracks on my side. I'm still going to do a double check at Buffelshoek Dam just to make sure. And this morning has come with so many different options, barely know where to turn, but at least we've got some clarification on those lions. Now, I think it was John who wanted to know if we have any updates on the Styx females. And as far as I know, they haven't been seen in a while, but we're just reliant on the updates from other reserves. Last time we heard they were somewhere south of our boundary, either in Chitwa or around that area. So far, no sign of them. There was a great deal of confusion about the female that was seen mating with the Birmingham boys a couple of days ago. So not the Nkahuma lioness that we got to see, but the female that was mating with them afterwards, and the female that they then brought her in when they came to chase those lionesses off the buffalo carcass. It'd be interesting to know exactly who she is. We suspect a Styx female, but it's very difficult to tell. She didn't stick around to make herself known. One thing about this area is that there are so many sneaky hiding places in these drainage lines, especially for a leopard as elusive as Karula. And I think it's safe to say that if she is denning with cubs, she's going to be even more mysterious than usual. We will still keep our eyes peeled. I'm very excited. I have never really seen very young leopard cubs. Obviously there's an age at which we don't view them because they're hidden away. They're so helpless in the beginning. But to see them when she first decides to introduce them to the world will be absolutely incredible. I'm definitely keeping my fingers crossed there. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, you might be a little bit unfamiliar with leopard behavior. When the females are solitary, so the males don't play any part in the raising of their cubs. They might occasionally share kills with the female and the cubs if they think that they're the father. But for the most part, they're not involved in the rearing of the cubs, really. Their job is to protect and patrol the territories that surround the female's territories. When a leopard is pregnant, and she's pregnant, she gestates for about 90 days, 90 to 100 days, depending on the female. They're going to find a beautifully secret hiding place in one of the thick drainage lines, possibly under a nice bush, somewhere hidden that she can have the cubs, because when she does have them, they are born so helpless and tiny. And there's so many threats out there. Anything from lions coming through to a strange male leopard who might be exploring the area, to even something like a buffalo or hyenas coming through. They could all be involved as possible threats to her baby, so she's got to find a really nice hiding place to keep them secret. Remay's asked a very good question on the subject of the possibility of Karula having cubs. And Remay, you would like to know how often she would move them if she did have them. And that's very much circumstantial. She might leave them there for an extended period of time. If she's found the perfect secret safe hiding place for them, where she feels that they are safe, then she'll probably stick around for a couple of weeks there. But if something happens, for example, like lions come racing through the drainage line and disrupt her, or hyenas figure out where she is and she's got to try and defend her babies, then she might move them out of the way. It's not the same as hyena den sites that build up parasites in the way they do. Leopards are different. She's not going to be taking kills back to them at that young age. She'll be eating to feed herself and then returning to feed the babies. But it's a hard life because she doesn't have anyone to provide for her. She has to do it for herself. She's got to leave them for extended periods of time. Luckily, they've got those incredible instincts that tell them, for the most part, when to hide and when to stay hidden, and not coming out too often if there's a threat in the air. Those animal instincts, even at such a young age, are incredible. And if she has just had cubs, then it might take a few weeks before she decides that she's comfortable enough and they're strong enough to start bringing them away from the den for periods to come out and play with her. But still, such an exciting prospect for all of us. After that, it becomes very much a matter of handling the situation well, from our perspective as well. We're going to be able, hopefully, if we find out where she is and what she's doing, to be able to show you those cubs, but in a way that is completely ethical. So we might have to wait a couple of weeks. We just have to be patient. We don't want to go barging into her den site and cause any disruption to those cubs, because that's going to definitely cause them to be threatened in some way. We'll have to wait patiently for our opportunities to get to see them. Up Nyala Road north now to Buffelshoek Dam. Down this road, as I've done so many times in the past, can't help but notice how the green has just appeared and transformed the place. It looks like a completely different place. And Jerry, you've commented on how green it's looking and the fact that even the roads are looking rather clean. And you were asking if we have any kind of system for the roads, if they're clean by hands. For the most part, no. It just is something like a road very often at this time of year. So this one. And we do apologize for the momentary breakup in signal. I've stopped here just to give the signal a chance to stabilize. So we have a nice view of Bob in his usual place, being a little bit shy. What you up to, Bob? Hiding his head underwater. I was in the process of answering Jerry's question, so I'll finish that off for the moment. And Jerry, you were asking if we maintain the road. Yes, we do, but only if there's something massive in the road or if there's been some serious erosion from big rains and then vehicles driving through. So although we do that, we don't have to go behind and sweep them. Just the regular vehicle traffic keeps them in good condition. And then every now and again, the reserve will drag the roads. So drag a very heavy tractor tire or something along those lines behind them, just to keep them clear from bumps. But you can't do that too often, otherwise you're going to cause excessive erosion. Now you guys may have noticed, and if you're new to safari viewing, that we seem to have speed bumps on the reserve. We go over bumps on a very regular basis, and those, although they do serve a function to reduce speed because you can't smack them too fast, they're not actually there to control driving, they're there to control water erosion. They're known as bolsters. And still on the subject of roads, I mentioned, I can't remember when it was either yesterday or the day before, the drives, picking out individual moments sometimes gets a little bit tricky. But Sharon in Pittsburgh, you were saying that you get nervous whenever we drive over the thin dam walls, and the one that immediately springs to mind in my head will be the dam wall at Treehouse Dam. And the other day I mentioned whilst driving over with Jeandré that I always try and concentrate a little bit extra carefully on the Treehouse Dam wall because it is quite narrow and does need a little bit of extra concentration, and especially when it's muddy and rainy, I would actually tend to avoid it. But yes, once those dam walls do start to become a little bit worn thin, then we will avoid them, and then the reserve will have to at some point do some maintenance and just pack up the road again. But if you start too soon, then the big rains are just going to wash them away, so it's more a process of constantly looking after it. And for example, at Buffelshoek Dam now, I definitely would not be driving along the dam wall. It's just too thin to safely support the vehicle. So it's a matter of judgment call. as to where you go. Now, I stopped here at Buffelshoek Dam to see if there's any sign of action. It's very, very quiet. It's just our lonesome friend Bob, the bachelor. And I think it's time to continue on our mission. I'm not going to go down round the back of the wall, just because I think we might disappear once again if we do. I'm sure you're wondering how Scott's tracking mission has gone. So whilst I continue, and then that allows me to go down the back of the dam wall, I believe Scott is back on his vehicle. So let's see what he has to tell you, and I will catch up with you a little bit later.
Welcome back, everyone. As you can see, I'm back on the vehicle, and I couldn't seem to find any further sign of that female leopard once she crossed over the road. Her general direction was north and west, so I've now extended the search. We've checked the immediate surrounding roads of the block that she headed into, and now, even though I think she could still be hiding in there, I'm just going to extend the search and make sure I didn't miss her tracks crossing one of the roads. It is possible some of the sections of road are very hard, and even if she did cross, I may not have seen those tracks. So we're going to loop around a little bit, possibly head into Arethusa and see if there's any further sign of her. Failing that, we may return back into that area a little bit later. The tricky thing when tracking leopard is that even if you walk just meters past them, if she's lying down under a bush and I walk a few meters past her and don't see her, she'll just lie there hiding. They know that they're incredibly well camouflaged, and if I don't see her, she's not even going to budge. If I stopped and locked eye contact with her from a few meters away, she'd probably think, oh, I'm going to get out of her. Like I said, if I walk past without seeing her, she'll just lie there as if nothing's ever happened. So that may have happened. I could have walked a few meters past that leopard, but don't have all morning to be able to walk around fine combing that area. So we'll see what happens next. But at least there are some fresh leopard tracks heading into Djuma. Good prospects, maybe not for this morning, but even this afternoon we could get lucky and find where she's hiding. There's also a lot of hyena tracks moving through that general area, so I was wondering if she hadn't possibly made a kill. There's been a lot of chatter about Karula and her potential new cubs, and Gerard in Perth, Australia would like to know a little bit more about their potential den sites. Would she potentially use an old aardvark burrow? Yes, most certainly. That would be a likely den site, although I've very seldom seen leopard denning in burrows, but they will use them. Depends on where you are, really. The majority of time that I've spent in the Sabi Sands, the leopards have been fortunate enough to have rocky outcrops where they can den their cubs. But on a few occasions, simply a fallen down tree with a little cavity underneath it can be used. So fallen down trees, any kind of dark crevices, rocky outcrops, burrows into termite mounds, are all possible den sites. An undercut riverbank in the roots of the trees that hold together that bank are also good spots where leopard like to keep their cubs. And I'm guessing that's the kind of den she would be using if in fact she has got cubs in that riverbed that flows out of Buffelshoek Waterhole. A very, very thick bush filled with roots. So it will vary. In the Sabi Sands, I've also noticed that leopards will very often give birth in the lodge areas. And it's a very clever move on their behalf because they know that hyena very seldomly go into the camps, a lot of which are fenced, like Djuma and Vuyatela, or Vuyatela and Gallagher, the two Djuma camps. There's a fence around that camp that keeps most animals outside of the camp, although leopards have the ability to sneak in where there's a few little entrance points. And I've seen leopard on a number of occasions give birth on the roofs of some rooms or within the infrastructure under the decks, because they know that there's not a high amount of predators moving through those areas. It's a safe place for them to give birth. So another hyena track crossing the road there, also in the general direction of where this leopard was moving. So yes, Gerard, a multiple host of different areas will be used, just depending on what's available to the leopard and its individual preferences. From Australia, we've gone across to India. Morning, Asad. And Asad would like to know if I use a GPS or if I know the roads off by heart. On Djuma, I know every road very well, but across on Arethusa, because I haven't spent as much time there, I don't know the names of every road, so that's usually the problem. I know how to get from A to B, but the names of the road become a problem, so I sometimes use a GPS when I'm across on Arethusa, simply to know the road names, to be able to call in sightings or respond to sightings. And I guess it depends on the individual how quickly any person would learn the roads of the area that they work in, but it usually takes, I would say, about a year before you become comfortable with an area that you traverse. Again, it depends on how large that area is and also how dense the road network is. But here in the Sabi Sands there's quite dense road networks with lots of different names, so it can be a bit confusing. And more importantly, more than just knowing the roads, knowing what happens between the roads is actually more useful to you as a guide, because so often the animals will veer off the roads and then you have to find a way to follow them and cross riverbeds and get through some thick, tricky areas in order to relocate, and that does come with time. Where I used to work in the southern Sabi Sands, we could traverse about 15,000 hectares. It's 10 times what we get to traverse here on Safari Live. We've got a very, very small area of traverse, abnormally small. So we're limited in that way compared to the other guides who all have bigger areas to move through. But it took me about 3 years to get to know that 15,000 hectares to a degree that I was comfortable on-road, off-road and everywhere in between. But maybe I'm just a slow learner. Jamie did incredibly well learning the roads here. It took a very, very short amount of time to get to grips with the roads and their names, so she's an example of a fast learner. Excuse me. Okay, well, no sign of this leopard crossing Triple M. This is the boundary between Djuma on our right and Arethusa on our left. The great thing about all these boundaries is they are merely for the humans, not for the animals. So the animals have got free flow. They can go where they like. And a lot of you may be wondering, well, why is it limited to certain people being able to work certain areas? And it's a necessity, otherwise certain areas would basically just become too congested with too much traffic. And sadly, us as humans are greedy beings, and it's not uncommon to get free riders latching on to easy opportunities, and it's the same out here. If it was a free-for-all, some guides would just respond to sightings one after the other without actually looking for animals for themselves. But by being limited to traverse certain areas, it forces people to work their area and make make sure there's nothing hiding around under their noses rather than just racing off to a confirmed sighting elsewhere. Continue scouring this area, and I hope that something will pop up, be it not the leopard, it could be something else. And in the meantime, you'll be glad to know that Jamie has found you something that you can look up without having to search for. So enjoy, and we will catch up a little bit later.
Welcome back, and yes indeed, we have found something. A very, very big herd of elephants that are around us. Now I'm going to try and sneak forward because I've spotted something, but before I do, let's just have a look there. That baby is tiny, absolutely minuscule. Sorry, Andrew. Andrew's dealing with the fluid head that's a little bit broken at the moment. It's not his fault, he just has to. We did a bit of a bush mechanics plan. Somewhere tucked away there's the little tail. Tiny, tiny little bubba. And this is a huge herd. I feel like I'm completely surrounded by them. They're right on the Buffelshoek boundary, looking very, very peaceful. Hello, Ellies. What a nice surprise you were. Oh, they are so special. Hello, big girl. Coming up the road. Can I please sneak closer to have a look at your gorgeous baby? Oh, my word. Let's try and get a good view of him before they sneak across the boundary. Then we can look at the rest of the herd. Elephants. I'm going to take a little bit of an indirect route here. Oh, no, there's an elephant there. Never mind. Oh, it's all stumbly. Okay, Mama. Okay, Mama. I'm going to have to stop here. I can't go any closer. Let me duck my head down. Oh, little one. I think this is the little elephant that you guys mentioned that you saw. It's all stumbly on its feet. It's still completely covered in fuzz. Oh, look at him go. Oh, he was so wobbly. Oopsie. Oh, you're tilting. There we go. Back up again. Popping out there. I can't get any further forward to get you a clear view, but look at this gorgeous little thing. No, oopsie. Don't fall down. Oh, Mommy, you're beautiful.
That one was raising its ears.
Ah, okay. Now he's going to come through. We'll keep an eye on Andrew's just keeping an eye on the rest of the elephants for me, since I'm always so distracted. Oops, into Mom. Oopsie daisy. Oh, but little one, you are so cute. That baby is only a month or two old at the most. I wouldn't even hesitate to say it's older than a month. I'm going to creep forward a little bit more. This is as close as I'm going to go. Oh! Hello, big girl. It's okay. It's alright. I'm not going to come cause trouble. Oh, sweet. No, Mommy. Wait, I want to suckle, Mommy. Oh, but it is too precious. Here we go, a special treat on the sunrise safari. The weeniest, tiniest, youngest little elephant I've seen while I've been working here. Oh, adorable. Exploring its new world with that special trunk. And Mommy's been very kind and relaxed. Now they're disappearing up into... what's on your head? Up into Buffelshoek, but still so glad we got to get this wonderful view of that little one. And this female that's in front of us here, she's taken on a very protective role. She's going to stand here and keep an eye on us whilst the other female with the young baby moves through. Here we go, you can just see those last few glimpses of that little spindly thing. And that little baby is probably the cutest thing I've seen in a week. There's so many cute elephants, it's hard to choose. Wonderful big herd. What a nice surprise this has been. I was not expecting to see them. Oh, such a peaceful scene. Now our little baby is disappearing up into Buffelshoek. We're still surrounded by elephants. There's still some south of our boundary. But I just had to get you that glimpse of the baby before it disappeared off into this block. Absolutely adorable. Now it looked to me to be a little female. I'm not too sure, but it looked like a little girl. And really, really sweet. Probably only about a month old. You could see, even compared to that young one that we've been seeing fairly regularly over the last few drives, that level of lack of coordination, tripping over her own feet. Still not quite sure what this trunk does and how it works. Just like a toddler or a baby learning to grip things and to grasp things. It's amazing to see. And so special. Bless you, Andrew. You okay there?
Yes, thank you.
There's obviously something in the air because both Andrew and myself have sneezed our way through the sunrise safari. The elephants aren't bothered though. They're quite happy. Okay, well let me reposition because now that little one has moved into the block. I think that's the last view we're going to get of it. Let me double check that there's no elephants behind me. Doesn't look like it. Oh, what a wonderful way to spend some time with these elephants. Thank you guys. And it's so special to me that a mother, even with such a young baby, is so completely comfortable in our presence. She showed absolutely no signs of stress as I snuck forward. Obviously I was monitoring her behavior very closely to make sure she was comfortable. Shifting forward very slowly, just to see what's happening on that side. Female still keeping an eye on me, not the mother, different female. It's okay, Mom. I'm not coming any closer, you can relax. Now the mother's not shown any signs of distress, but the older female is keeping an eye on us. She could be the matriarch. She might also be one of the high-ranking females. She's a mature cow. She's probably somewhere in the region of 30 or even older. And it's her job to be the protector of the herd. And all of the older females will take on this role. And who knows, that female with the calf could even be her daughter, and she's keeping a very close eye on us. She gave us a very clear warning there. And that's the point at which, even if I could follow them through the block, I would not be doing so. She's made it very clear. She sent that message through to me. The way that she turned, swung her head, moved her head from side to side, that was a very clear message to say, hey, stop there now. it's important to read those signals. There's a lot of big ladies in this group. Mature cows. Oh, what a wonderful moment. It's definitely one of my favorite things is that they're so complex that they can communicate with us to that level. And it's important to respect those messages from them as well. Okie dokie. Well, since that female has definitely told us to stay where we are and not come any closer, we still have a couple of elephants off to our left. Let's go see what they're up to around us. There's one or two stragglers behind this big herd. Now, I'm not too sure how many members of this herd there are, but it looks to be about 15 or more. It's quite a big herd. Let's go sneak up and see what we can find. Just going to keep an eye on her. No, I'm going to wait for a moment. I'm not going to turn on the vehicle just yet because I think she's going to think I'm following her. It's alright, girl. We're just going to sit here. And still showing signs of displacement behavior. And obviously some of the babies have gone to sleep, lying down in the back there. Behind her, and she's assumed a very protective role. And that sign where she's eating there, or pretending to eat, that's known as displacement behavior. She's pretending to be distracted, and she's keeping a very close eye on us. It's okay, big girl. There you can see that little one lying down in the back. Cute. Not the baby. Oh, look at the size of the tusks on that female as well. Very big girl. Having a little roll around. Oh, sometimes it's difficult to get back up when you're a hefty elephant. Well done, little one. Back on your feet again, almost. Oh, not quite. Trying. Maybe finding a more comfortable spot on that termite mound there. Oh, throwing sand everywhere. There we go. Well done. And dust bath time. I love elephants. There's always one doing something interesting. Okay. Beautiful stuff. And they've decided that this is going to be their rest spot, I think, for the moment. Some of them are sleeping, some of them are eating. Here comes Mom once again. The tiny one, hello. Yes. It's okay, Mom's never going to leave you behind. Don't worry. And it's exhausting work, being a little baby like that when the rest of your family has such long legs and you've got to tumble after them to keep up. Which is why elephant herds like this will move fairly slowly unless they are really determined to be somewhere. But usually they'll cover a bit of ground and then let baby go to sleep. These are very big ladies. I've seen a couple that the mother of the calf is very, very big. The female who came to tell us not to come any closer is also very big. This is an impressively sized herd compared to the ones that we've seen before. And it's always been interesting to me to see how it seems that while I've been here, the younger elephants have been the most relaxed, especially the females with babies. What a wonderful herd to have encountered. mentioned that I'm going to stop here for the moment just because of that warning signal from that one female, just to stay where I am. And when I went to turn my engine on, she did come and look at me again. She already picked up on that tiny click. And elephants are such wonderfully complex creatures. She's just protecting that little one. Now that little one is a female, I think, so it's going to be in this herd for the rest of her life. These relatives are going to be all that she knows. She'll encounter other elephant herds, get to know them, but for the most part she will be with this family for the rest of her life. But that young male that we saw before, I mentioned that although he's got plenty of time to bond with his mother, he's going to stay very, very close to her for the first few years of his life. Once he reaches 12 or 15 years old and reaches sexual maturity, he's then pushed out of the herd and sent on his way to go and make his own way in life and find his own other mating opportunities. And Yummy Sphinx, you were wondering, I've got an Ellie coming back to us. Hello, big girl. Oh, but you're impressive. What you saying? Rumbling to each other. Interesting stuff happening there. That was about. It feels like the whole herd has decided to come back this way, which is very interesting. So we will not be moving for the time being. Sorry, Yummy Sphinx, I was in the middle of answering your question. So you were wondering, when a young male is kicked out of the herd, how does that work? Will he stay close to the group, or will the females push him right away? And in the beginning, he will try and stay close to the group. We see it a lot with young males following just behind the group. Oh, look at the floppy ears. That's interesting. Now, apparently this is the herd that you guys saw with Scott, so I'm assuming that the baby is the same one as well. But that's a very, very distinctive elephant with those flopped down cartilages. And that's probably just a slight birth defect. The cartilages are just a little bit soft. Just results in that droopy-eared look. Oh, little baby. It makes this little elephant look so sad. I don't know why it is. It's just the floppy ears. And of course it isn't. It's not going to in any way disadvantage her. But somehow that droopiness of the ears adds a little extra dimension. Hey, pretty girl. Oh, elephants are just too distracting. Sorry, Yummy Sphinx, I was still answering your question. Oh, what wonderful time we get to spend with them. Right, so, young males, back to where we were. At the age at which they get kicked out, then they hang around the back of the herd for quite a while, maybe even up to a year, when they start to realize they're not that welcome, but they don't really want to leave. They're still tightly bonded with their family. And they hang around behind, usually with another brother who's about the similar age. They play fight, just like we saw many, many times. And then after that, they start to get a little bit braver, and it's not really the actions of the females. It's more the fact that they start to get that instinct that it's time to go roaming. It kicks in and they decide they want to be on their own or off with other males, and they disappear. And often it can be finally precipitated by one of the females in the herd coming into estrus and a big bull approaching them and keeping them out of the way and defending that female in estrus very, very closely, to the point that the males get the message and they move off on their own. God, it's going to be very difficult to show you. There's an elephant. Oh, he's moving. That's okay. That gives me a chance to, now that they've all moved away, to reposition to get you a better view. I just have to make sure that I don't go U-turning into an elephant. Go. I've got got a female that you will all know ahead of me. Quite unusual to see and very distinctive, and tells us for absolute certain that this is the same bird that you guys saw with Scott. I'm not going to edge too much closer to her. I'm just going to duck down so that Andrew can show you. There we go. Hello, girl. Now, apparently you saw this herd with Scott and you saw the tiny, tiny baby, but they were on a mission through the Mawati. Well, there you go. That's the elephant that was mentioned. How amazing is that? That backward pointing tusk. It's not often you get to see an elephant like that. And it's long as well. And that groove right at the tip. She's obviously learned to use it in a way that is very, very effective. That's incredible. Now, I've heard stories about fang tusk, or I don't know if this is fang tusk per se, but I've heard stories about this elephant with a downward facing tusk. But that's incredible. I didn't expect it to be so long. How on earth she hasn't broken that off, I do not know. Wow. She's quite a small girl. I'm going to wait for her. I think she's going to keep coming towards the rest of the herd. I'm going to let her come. Just doing some double checking that there's no other Ellies behind me as well. Are you going to stop there, hidden behind the bush? It wasn't very considerate. Thank you. That is so interesting. She's adapted perfectly. She's made that groove on the inside. I'm trying to work out if she's going to stop at this bush for a while, in which case it'll be worth looping around her, but I think it's worth waiting actually. I think she's going to walk out to us. Here we go. So she's clearly adapted perfectly to use that tusk. Hello, big girl. That's incredible. You're amazing. She obviously has no idea what the fuss is all about. She's got a clear groove on that backwards pointing tusk to show her the way that she's learned to use it. Oh, some talking happening. And some rumbling happening behind us. Everybody lifted up their heads. Sorry, Andrew. Just want to watch what they're doing and saying. She's rumbling in response. Oh, I love that sound. Awesome. Okay, she's moved away far enough from us that we can reposition and make Andrew's life a little bit easier, because at the moment they've all kind of moved behind us. What an amazing elephant herd. Floppy ears, backwards pointing tusks, and huge females. They've got enormous tusks. They're very, very big girls. And in response to our floppy-eared elephant, John, you made a comment that it's like an umbrella. Well, it kind of serves the same purpose. I mean, those ears are such a useful cooling mechanism for elephants. Shade also works like it. I don't know about the rain, though. Oh, what a special Ellie herd. So full of interesting individuals. Keeping it nice and slow. nothing here. I just want to keep an eye on what they're doing. I'm going to let them move towards me here. I think if I go any further forward into the herd, it's going to cause them a little bit of upset. Here comes our backwards facing tusk lady. Hello, my girl. Hi, big girl. Oh, but you're incredible. Look how long that is. I want to see if she's going to use it and show us how she does. X-Ranger, you've made a comment that you said that you're surprised she hasn't stabbed herself in the leg with it. It is quite phenomenal. I'm just really surprised she hasn't broken it. It must be so in the way. Incredible. I'm just doing a quick head count. Okay, there's at least 20 of them, and some really seriously big females. They're incredible. And this elephant is not in any way disadvantaged by her unusual tusk. Now I'm assuming that comes about in much the same way we occasionally get skewed teeth. I know my wisdom tooth decided, one of my wisdom teeth decided to grow sideways. So I kind of know the feeling. She might have had a little bit of a blockage or something in there when it was growing that caused that downward spiral. Oh, there goes our baby across the road. Look at him go. Run, little one. Oopsie. Oh, so cute. Interesting that they came all the way north, decided that they didn't like Buffelshoek and went back into Djuma. Now at the moment we're definitely not going anywhere, not with this rather large and impressive specimen standing right next to us. We're going to let her finish up her feeding. Just going to be quiet for a moment. That groove looks like it's almost sawed. She's almost sawed all the way through that tusk. She keeps using it much more and wearing it down much more. She's going to lose that tip. I wouldn't be surprised if she does. And there's so much going on, I don't know where to look. She's incredible. It's so clearly distinctive. I love that sound they make as they walk down the road. It's just that very soft tread of footsteps on the sand. And it's something that I've enjoyed a couple of times at night, where you just get to listen to the very soft footfalls in the dark. And I've been on sleepouts before. Look there, you can see their tracks on the road. Beautifully fresh. You can see how easy it is to spot an elephant track on the road. They almost stand out like shiny patches. What a wonderful elephant herd. So many interesting characters. Okay, well, we've been left abandoned by all of the Ellies. They're on the move again. Let us shift forward once again, very slowly. comfortable with us. They've all completely changed direction as one. There was a one rumble, and then it was time to go back south again. It's incredible. Are they going to go to Djuma Dam? Maybe. It's a distinct possibility. We're not far. It's almost in a direct south line. We'll stop here for the moment. I'll just keep inching forward so that I can gauge the herd's moods as I do. You can see how many there are wandering around, babies of all sizes, and some interesting characters. And Dr. Debbie, you were wondering, with the floppy ears and the backwards tusks, if it could be a sign of inbreeding. It's possible, but I don't think so. I actually think that this is just because it's a big herd. It comes with one or two characters. Generally, in an area like this, there are so many elephants for them to choose from and it takes quite a while for inbreeding to come through in the physical appearance of an animal. It takes a couple of generations of it to happen. And in this particular circumstance, because there are so many elephants in the Kruger National Park and the greater Kruger area, I don't think that that's going to be the case. It's very interesting to see. I don't know why there's a concentration of interesting looking creatures in this herd. I will say that there are some of the most, in fact definitely the most, not some of the most impressive looking females that I've seen while I've been here. There are a couple of absolutely enormous ladies, including the mother of that calf and the one who came to give us the message to just stay back, as well as that incredible backwards facing tusk. I've never seen, well, not here, I have yet to see them look as impressive as the ones that are around here. Really quite incredible. Now I need to shift around to try and find a nice way to get a view of these Ellies. I don't want to leave them just yet. They're so interesting looking. So I'm going to try and get around them and find a nice place to be. In the meantime, let's see what Scott has been up to, and I will catch up with you a little bit later.
Well, isn't that elephant cow with a very interesting tusk, along with her herd, a wonderful group of elephants. So happy that you're getting to spend some quality time with them, with Jamie. I've just moved out of the area where we had those female leopard tracks, thrown in the towel there. And I've come in search of a living leadwood tree. I'm hoping Dave in the UK is watching. Yesterday we couldn't show him a living leadwood tree, which was one of his requests due to signal issues. So I'm coming back to the same spot where I know there are some wonderful specimens. And if he's not watching, we'll have to come back this afternoon, I guess. But the rest of you can get to see and learn about this tree and how to identify it when it's alive. The point he made is that we often only show the dead ones, which is true. Not sure which one to go for now. There's a whole bunch in this area. After this, I'm going to head up to the Buffelshoek Waterhole in the hope that we may find Karula having another drink there like we found her yesterday afternoon. Here is a living leadwood, and as Jeandré zooms in and takes you on a tour of it, The distinctive thing to look for is the very rectangular shaped little pieces of bark on the main trunk. It's a very distinctive bark. They're incredibly hard woods, but are exceptionally heavy, great for building, and they stand for hundreds of years once they have died, and they form beautiful, beautiful skeletons to look at. That's why we often show the dead specimens as opposed to the living ones. Great. Well, Dave, let us know if you are watching. Otherwise, if we don't hear anything from you, we're going to assume you're not here, so you didn't get to see that, and you'll have to come back again on the sunset safari. We won't have to come back specifically to these ones. There's just a lot in this area, but they are dotted around all over Djuma and Arathusa. Sounds like Jamie's managed to reposition herself into a good spot so that you can continue enjoying that elephant sighting with her. And the next time you see us, I'm guessing we're going to be at the Buffelshoek Waterhole, searching for any further sign of Karula. Enjoy.
Welcome back. And we've even found this individual who's not unfortunately going to turn her head to us now, but she's only got one tusk. We really do have the full selection in this particular herd. Incredible to see. Not in any way disadvantaging her. She's got her right tusk, but no left tusk. And I'm just approaching very, very slowly. I'm right at the back of the herd now. I'm not going to cause them any undue distress, especially because it's windy, and wind does tend to make animals just that little bit more nervous. There goes our backwards pointing tusk lady. I'm sure I could think of a better name than that, but let's go with that for now. Okay, we've all crossed through. I wonder where they're going. Keep your eyes peeled on the Djuma Dam camera for elephant updates. I think that there is a very, very good chance that these guys, they could either go there or they could go to Buffelshoek Dam. Motion people here. Keeping an eye on some of these bigger girls. I'm going to try and get you one last glimpse of this baby before it disappears into the block. I'm not going to be following in there. Oh. Get a view from there, Andrew. I think you can see it. Having a quick drink hidden behind one of its aunties. I just wanted to get that one last image before it disappears. I think he's going to go into this drainage line, and I'm definitely not going to be following them. But as I said, I was keeping an eye on some of the larger females, and they are huge, really, really big girls. Look how clever she is. She's put herself right between us and the baby whilst it has a moment to feed. She's just gone completely still. She's there as a guardian. And that little baby is going to grow up surrounded by these incredible females who will keep it safe and teach it everything they know for the next 60 years of its life. It's quite phenomenal to think about all of the growth and learning that that little one has to do. And it's going to get bigger and bigger, and judging by the elephants I see in this herd, could well reach a very large size. And Michael from Arizona is another female. That's interesting. He's also come to join the protective circle. And safe. You were wondering if the elephant's size is determined by its access to food, so food availability, or genetics, or a combination of both. It's absolutely a combination of both. You do get genetic strains that are slightly bigger than others, as well as the age of the elephant. So they will keep growing for the rest of their lives and reach those massive size. And this could just be a very, very mature herd with a couple of 30 to 40-year-old females, and even older as possible. They live up to 60 years old, so they've got plenty of time to grow. But yes, it will be determined by their access to food as well as genetics. And I know in Ambroseli, you get some of the biggest elephants there in sort of East Africa, and that will be a strong genetic line of large elephants. Oh, digging with her foot. Dust bath time. Loosening up the soil so she can throw it over herself. They love doing that. This catches, I think it just helps them get rid of the little extra itches that they might have on their skin. Oh. Did she just throw something into the... I don't know if she threw a rock there or if it was a piece of elephant dung. What's she doing? Oh, she's found something. I think she dug up a bulb. Yes, she must have. I thought it was a rock, but she picked it up and then she rubbed it along her tusk for a while and then popped it in her mouth. So it must have been an underground tuber or a bulb or something like that. Where are you off to, girls? What is your plan for the day? Little one. Hello. Oh, that was interesting. Pushing away another young elephant from the baby. Being very, very protective. You hear those warning rumbles. Those are not aimed at us. They're aimed at the younger elephant that's in the group. What's happening, Ellies? In your world? Lots of rambling going on. And at this early age, Mom is very, very protective of the little one, especially around other small elephants. And Jenny, whilst we're looking at our backwards-facing tusk friend, you were wondering if there might be other small babies on its way, if she's pregnant. And I did notice she was looking a little bit broad around the hips. Sometimes hard to tell with an elephant, but you could well be right. Obviously with 22 years worth of pregnancy, it's a distinct, sorry, not 22 years, 22 months. Not 22 years, that would be terrible. 22 months of pregnancy. There's a distinct possibility that she's pregnant. She doesn't seem to have a young calf with her. Hello, little one. Yes, come say hello. Say hello to Auntie. Popping under Auntie's stomach there. Place of protection and safety. What you doing? Where you going? Looking for a snack there. Oh, might have found it. Oh, what wonderful animals. Look, they've basically decided that this place in the shade is where they want to be. We're going to rest here for the moment. They've formed a nice protective female circle and they're slowly nodding off. Now that they've relaxed a little bit, I'm going to shuffle forward to see if we can get another view of them. Oh, what a wonderful eddy herd. We are in a bit of a tricky signal area around this fire break. Hopefully we can stay with you for as long as possible. Oh. My goodness me, that little one is so cute. We mentioned that our fanged tusk friend might be pregnant. There she is now. And Karen, you were wondering at which age does an elephant stop breeding? They've lived for 60 years. Obviously they must go through something similar to menopause in humans. And I think it's somewhere around the last recorded or the latest recorded baby was somewhere around 45. It's generally when they stop producing calves. I'm going to try and shift forward a little bit. It's very, very tricky because I don't want to frighten them in any way. And little one is moving backwards and forwards. Oh. What? So tiny. Oh my goodness. Have you ever seen anything that cute? I'm going to try and shuffle forward now because baby's settled there.
Wait.
Well, you got him?
Might have to go a bit back.
Tricky. She's just keeping our vision blocked there.
Come on, Fang.
Please, Fang, may we have a look at your baby? Well, not your baby, but your sister's baby. Just a little peeking trunk. They have formed a very protective circle and they want to go to sleep here in the shade. It's such interesting behavior. Let me think about this for a moment. I wonder if it's not worth trying the other side. Very briefly. Thinking of going round the fire break that side and see if we can get a view. Because it is almost like they've, as Junebug said, it's almost like they've made a playpen of legs, of elephant legs for baby, tucking it away in there, just little trunk visible. I don't want to do too much shifting backwards and forwards around them while they're sleeping, but let me try sneaking forward one more time. I think we might have a view. Just looking from the position I'm in. Oh, Mommy, your tummy's in the way. That's terribly inconvenient. Oh well. Here we go. So yes, Karen, just to finish off your question, it's about 45 years old, as far as I know, when elephants stop having their babies. Precious little thing. Oh, but you are so cute. Oh, now here we have an interesting question. I think baby's going to lie down and go to sleep. Oh, tired little thing. Off, boom. Done. Done for the day. Going to sleep now. Oh no, oh, we might wake up. I think it's torn between eating and sleeping. There we go. I think sleeping is won over. And that's wonderful. Oh, Auntie just threw sand all over the little one. Up again. Done with the playpen now. And some food. Right, let's try shift backwards again. Stop there so that I don't disrupt anything. Whoopsie. Stretching up to try and get hold of that nipple. Not too easy when you're only that big. Oh. She's half asleep, but she just reached over there. It's almost like a little absent-minded, affectionate touch. This female in front is incredible. She always manages to curl her trunk around or something. Oh, little one, are you struggling? Oh, you're not being very obliging. Droopy eye.
Welcome back. Sounds like Jamie lost picture there. Buffelshoek Dam's right behind us. We've just checked there for any sign of Karula. Haven't seen it just yet, so not too sure where she could be. Just going to keep working this general area. Maybe we'll find a sign of her. It would be so awesome if she does in fact have cubs. So let's hope that. plan does play out well in the coming weeks. It's a tricky thing when leopards do have cubs because it's such an exciting moment, but you do have to remember that we're actually going to have to try and give her some space and not go charging into the den site with the vehicles, even if we know where it is, which at this stage we don't, because you would hate to attract any unnecessary attention to that area. This was the road that we had her tracks on yesterday afternoon, where she came down to drink and then headed back on the same pathway. Or possibly she headed out to go and hunt and then back towards where we last saw it dipping down into the drainage to the south of the dam. But like I was saying a little bit earlier on the drive, is that she'll keep working this general area. She's not going to want to move too far afield if she can afford to, because she needs to be suckling those cubs quite regularly. Ideally she will make a kill closer by that is easy to get to. It's turning into quite a windy day out here, and I'm not sure what the weatherman says, but there possibly some bad weather approaching, and this is the precursor to that. There's tracks of the two lioness here from yesterday heading along this road, as I'm sure Jamie's filled you in a little bit more, as she was in this area tracking them a bit earlier. I'm not sure if she did mention that the 5 Birmingham males have been located to the north of us in Buffelshoek, and they're on the northern boundary of that area, bordering the Kruger National Park. So they're quite a way off, but they can move big distances in one night, and maybe they will return south this evening, and tomorrow morning we'll get to see them again. Orioles calling around us. It's the call we heard earlier on this morning. Hopefully we'll be able to find one. There's 2 of them up to our left here. We're not going to be able to get very close here. Let's just stop and listen to them for a while. Some others might appear closer by. There's, ooh, I can hear one much closer by on the right of us. Jeandré, sorry buddy, on the right here. And the other one's just flown closer by. All 3 of them actually. Look at this. Beautiful. You may have got a few flashes of bright yellow there. And it seems like these Orioles are having a bit of a domestic here. Possibly trying to secure some mates. I'm not sure if they're monogamous or not, so I need to get my book out. Left now. There we go. Oh, no. They're too busy sorting out this dispute they're having with one another. Let's wait here a second and see if they'll pop back into a better view. And while they do that, I'll get a picture of them in the book for you and also be able to work out whether they are in fact monogamous or not. Yes, they are monogamous. Male often calls in nest vicinity. And their nest is a deep cupped nest, often made with lichen, and it's suspended like a hammock in the outer branches of trees, apparently. This is them that you can hear calling. And top right there, you will get to see the bird itself. Wouldn't it be wonderful to find where their nest is exactly? Now, I have just spotted some more. They're off to our right. There's going to be a good view of them. They seem to be fairly stationary. There's two of them in that dead tree across there, Jeandré. There we go. Where's your hammock-like lichen nest? I've never actually seen the nest of an oriole, so that would be a great first. I'm not sure why there was three of them having this dispute if they are monogamous. Maybe they're fighting for this territory. Which is what I'm guessing. The calls are ringing out all around us. There could well be more than three. There's another one that's just popped into frame. Well, it's certainly going to be worth keeping a close eye on this area, and maybe we can track down their nest in the coming weeks. Maybe they're still disputing who's going to have this territory before they start building the nest. Maybe that's what's going on. It does definitely sound like there's two calling off to our left and then two to our right. Let me see if I can show you the other two. They're not far off, just on the left of the road, and they're probably going to be better views than the ones that we were looking at a bit earlier. One's just flown off. They're up in this big marula tree. Oh, the sunlight's not going to work for us here. Let's move around a little bit more. They fluttered off, and I think we'll keep fluttering along as well. And Jamie's managed to find some good signal and a better view of the elephants for you, so we're going to send you back to her, and we'll see you a little bit later.
Welcome back, and what a wonderfully peaceful scene that Andrew and myself are enjoying. It's quite incredible. They are all resting, they're fast asleep, some of them at the back, drooping eyes and everything, and perfectly at peace in this windy day and quite happy to let us share with them. Now, our signal in this area isn't very good, so we do apologize if we disappear, but look at that. We just had to take the chance to show you this position we've managed to get. Look who is fast asleep on the ground, surrounded by protective mom and aunts, and completely at peace with the world. This little one has barely moved since he lay down. She didn't even lift her head when we came round. It is so cute. The rest of the herd has moved off, but this tight band of females, probably very closely related and definitely high ranking. They're old girls. They've decided to stop here, spend some time so that baby can have a quick nap in the shade. And there's just so much learning going on and experiencing the world and all that growing that it's got to do. And sometimes a little bit of sleep is necessary. I think I saw an eye blink. No, back to sleep again. It's like a little napping toddler. Look at the way he's curled his front feet up, or she's curled her front feet up. And that forest of protective legs there. It's awesome. There's Mom, looking a little bit droopy-eyed herself. Just every now and again the odd flap of the ears to cool down. And every now and again she throws a trunk full of dirt up onto her back to us. To just happily stand here and let us sit and watch them without any show of distress. It's incredible. They've formed a perfectly protective triangle almost, so that one of them is always looking in a direction at a time. So they've got a 360 view if something was to approach. Perfectly coordinated. Hard to see behind the bush, but Fang Tusk has got her trunk resting on her upwards facing tusk, just to take some of the weight off it for now. Now looking at this beautiful family scene, and Mom is currently giving herself a dust bath. Now we know for sure who Mom is, but we were wondering who Dad might be. And Janet, you wanted to know if the mothers will know who the father of their calves are. And that's a very, very interesting point, because elephants are not really, they have ranges, but they're not really like things like lions that have very set territorial boundaries that they meet. And the female in estrus may mate with one or two males, but generally she only mates with one. She only has the opportunity to mate with one. That's a very, very interesting point, because I strongly believe that elephants are incredibly intelligent, and of all of the animals, they definitely... Oh, up again. Oh. It's alright.
Welcome back. It sounds like Jamie's having some troubles with signal where she is. And probably going to have some signal issues ourselves shortly. But there's not much time left, so we'll be able to stop on this little rise. As if we were to take a Nyala Road north, it's one road that we have got no signal on, even at the best of times. And I was hoping of just having one more look in there to see if that hasn't poked your head out. It's in the drainage line that runs along the Nyala Road north, where we think she's getting these potential cubs. Alarm. There was a massive sneeze on the way there, but it somehow managed to rectify itself. We're just gonna slowly make our way up to the Buffelshoek Waterhole one last to make before the end of the show. And very happy to hear that Dave from the UK was watching, so he did get to see his living leadwood. And Dave, we'll be sure to show you some more different specimens as we drive around. There's not too many in this area. Okay, well, seems like we're not going to have time to make it to the Buffelshoek Waterhole, but it's been a pleasure taking you guys on safari this morning. I hope you've enjoyed it. Jamie did conduct most of the drive, so thanks to her. Well done, Jeandré, on camera, and to Jess and Nikki in the final control room. We will see you all next time, and who knows what we'll find this afternoon.
We do really apologize for that. The signal just dropped. We think it's got something to do with the wind there. But the mother nudged the baby up. Might have heard the rumble there that came from the baby, who was complaining about having to be woken up. But we will try and catch up with him again. Keep your eyes peeled on the Djuma Dam camera. And from myself, a big thank you to Andrew, the artvark, for his wonderful capturing of those moments, and to Nikki and Jess in FC and Alex for all of his technical genius. And thank you to you, the viewers. Have a wonderful day wherever you are, and we will see you for the Sunset Safari. Have a fantastic day.